them with questions. Okay. Thank you, Richard. Yep. Okay, we got another announcement from Bruce Radcliffe. Oh, all right. Bruce, tell us about your special announcement here.
Okay, thank you. How many pastafarians are out there? Would you raise your hands? Okay, would you respond with Spaghetti-O! Spaghetti-O! Oh, you can do better than that. Spaghetti-O! Spaghetti-O! Okay, well, we have a fine spaghetti monster feast in October. Do you know the date yet for that? The 14th. Okay, and we are trying to gather some singers to sing a couple of songs that are appropriate to that occasion. The only requirements for the singers is, number one, that you be able to sing enthusiastically. Number two, that you attend at least one of the 2 short rehearsals. The first will be on July the 29th at our next meetup, right shortly after the meeting, and the last one will be August 12th. And then of course you should be able to come to the feast. Yes. The feast. So anyway, if you would be interested in joining us, we'd be more than happy to have you, and we'll look forward to seeing you.
Sign me up. Now wait, hold on. These were custom written songs. You wrote these, right?
Yes. These lyrics should fit the occasion fine. This, by the way, in case you don't know, is holy headgear.
That's what his license says. I noticed one of the requirements wasn't the ability to sing well. Enthusiastically, all right. I'm in.
That's why I'm in. I'm in, yes.
Alrighty, so we'll definitely see you at that. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a kicker.
Oh, right. Good.
Ready as I'll ever be.
Oh,
I got 2 more notes. Just a second. Don't move. So just keep in mind, we are a democratically elected organization. Your board is by you, for you, and composed of people composed of you. So we're big in democracy here. We feel it's our patriotic duty to remind you that we have an election this year, and the deadline to register to vote is the end of this month. So if you have not registered to vote, TikTok. So do register if you need help. I think we can hook you up with somebody that can help you with that. But do make sure you vote. I don't care how you vote, but just vote. We do still have Chris Shelton's books. If you remember, Chris Shelton came and talked to us about Scientology. We're out of books. Shipping it back. Oh, okay. We're out of books. Sorry.
But they're available on his site if you still want it.
If you want to buy his book, you can buy it from his website. I think it's like chrisshelton.com.
Yeah.
And we'll do Jennifer's event right now. Figures. It's like magic.
There you go.
There you go.
There we go.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm here to report on Camp Quest, Arizona. We had a fabulous week on top of Mingus Mountain, in the piney woods off the grid, in our little cabins. And this is our gang for this year. And in our pink shirts, we had a fantastic week. And I want to show you a little bit about, I don't think I've shown you too much about what it's looked like at camp. So this is us, and then I want to show you a video to get started here. You can go on our Facebook page and see more videos, but I want to show you a particular one. And it's this one, I think, yeah. Make it bigger. Yeah, thank you.
The UI design Facebook.
There we go. This is from above. This is our campsite. This is Gaga Ball, people. It's like the biggest thing to hit Camp Quest in years. We have an annual competition. This is our campfire site. This is where we have Socrates Cafe, which the kids love. We meet there every day for meetings and things. And our own personal drone is taking I'm up there. That's our camp director, Chuan. And here, one of the campers is reading about Free Thought Heroes. It's a Camp Quest feature. All the Camp Quests have that. There's Zenito's truck, that silver one. And the nurse's cabin there. And you can see it's beautiful piney woods. We're off the grid. We have archery, which I participated in this year for the first time, and it was so fun.
Everyone survived,
Yeah, no one died. It was another good year. We have a lake, well, I'm sure he'll show it, where they have fishing. The lake's a little bit low this year, it's dry. It's all nice and woodsy, cold at night. There's the lake, it's like, as you can see, it's a little low. We don't go swimming in it, but there's a platform there for people who do, but we do fish. Yes. That's Paul and Chris, two of our, we had 4 Chris's at camp this year. We had a mountain lion up there, actually.
Wow. Turkeys.
We didn't see him, but several people heard him. All right, let's go back to our pictures. And I'll just go quickly through some pictures here. This is we're making robots. Don, he's the president of American Atheists in Tucson, and he's our robot meister. He had 2 robot projects for the kids this year. This is Rick, he's our survival guide, but right now he's leading an experiment, a camouflage experiment. We did it at the Science March this year too, with M&Ms and Skittles. And there they are again. There's Chuan, our camp director, and Chris again. And this is our signature Camp Quest Arizona project. We won awards for this program. It's called Mythical Creatures, and we take a bunch of stuffed animals, and the kids mix and match parts and create their own creatures. And here they all are posing. And they love them. They cherish them forever until they fall apart. This is a drama. We have a drama class, and there's lots of drama there. I won a bead. I got over 40 points. I was so thrilled. And here's an art class, and you may recognize that lady there. Nicole was one of our counselors, and it was awesome, and we hope Zelda will be there with us next year too.
Who's the other one?
Oh, the other one is our granddaughter, Brookie. You guys, a lot of you probably know Bradley, and Brookie is his little sister. This is two of our art projects here. The kids made, they each painted a little 8x8 square stretch canvas with something that's important to them for some reason. And then they had to glue string. You see the black lines? They had to glue string, and they had to go in or out of the halfway point of each edge so that they made like an overlying design over the top of the paintings to kind of unify them, so it's group art. And then these are, I'll show you some closer pictures of these. They're painted rocks painted with Australian Aboriginal dot art. We always have culture, art, science, philosophy, and bucket drumming. This was so awesome. We had this activity, so over 4 days, this guy, another Chris, was teaching these kids how to break. Oh, we're going to have him come, actually. He's going to come and lead our drum circle.
Oh, I see.
Yes. And he's going to bring his friend, who's a virtuoso didgeridoo player. So it was great. They did a concert this is the last night where they're doing their concert. It was really cool. And here's some of the kids doing a play. We had each cabin gets an assignment. They were each assigned a free thought hero to do a little skit about. And this one was about Frank Lloyd Wright. And these are the little girls. It was really good. And this is one of the cabins we were honoring. On the last day, each cabin, all the cabin counselors give little awards that they've carefully thought about all week to each of the kids in their cabin. So this is the middle boys' cabin. And we had a special guest on Tuesday night, actually, I think it was, or Monday night. You may recognize this guy, Juan Mendez, Senator Juan Mendez, Representative Athena Salmon. Thank you. And it was Tuesday, that's right, Tuesday night they came. They really inspired the kids. They were engaged. They went extra long because the kids were so engaged with them, and it was really, really good. And let's see, we had an even specialer guest. You might recognize the guy on the left. Can you tell who that is?
No.
Henry!
Oh, yeah.
Henry and Mary visited us also on Tuesday, so they saw Athena and Juan. Henry, Mary, can you stand up and just tell your impression of camp or something?
Great. I enjoyed the heck out of it.
We enjoyed having you too. It was so
I
fun.
really like the mythical monster.
It was cool, huh? Thank you guys so much for coming out. It was great. And I just have one short video. Oh, I just wanted to say thank you, Nicole. Take that this way. I just dumped water on this. I hope I didn't ruin it. Nicole was on my program staff, and I gave them each a little award. And Sienna, can you stand up? Sienna was at camp. She was a camper. We have a leadership track program for the older campers, and they are amazing. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next summer. I'm sorry. Now just one more quick video, and then we're done. Not that one here. Oh, you're doing it with Adams?
Arizona, you get to cook in your car.
That's our song. That's our camp song, has that in it. This is it. Oh. The leadership track kids design team games for the kids to do every day, and this is one of them. It's called Cookie Pirate.
Get it to your mouth.
They have to get it into their mouth without touching it with their hands. I just saw Sienna flash by. Yes. In fact, the next person couldn't go until the first kid got it.
Why are you doing it, Sienna?
She's leading it. Sienna's leading it. She's running it with the other teenagers. And she's the master of this.
Here we go.
So that's
Listeners have no idea they had a huge crowd cheering them
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, Jennifer. That's great. So that is Camp Quest. That is like a secular scout camp that is put on every year, and we're proud to be financial supporters of that. So thank you for everybody that did volunteer. I am Chris, but I was not one of the 4 other Chris's, but it is pretty awesome.
They all have awesome nicknames. Cool, Chris.
At this time, I'd like to bring up Susan Sackett.
I've been told I have to be quick. Okay, I'm going to do some shameless promotion, and I think I probably earned the right to do that after so many years. Thank you. Some of you may know that I worked with Star Trek, and I collected a lot of items over the years. I'm just going to tell you that I've opened up an eBay store selling off a lot of my next-gen scripts and personal items. There's cups, there's mugs, there's tapes, there's, well, anyway, there are cards up here, so help yourself, pick one up, see if there's something there that you would like to buy and help support me. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, the announcements are running a little long today. We do have one other big one, and then I gotta come up with a couple other ones, but I'd like to bring up Pam real quick to talk about a really big event that's coming up very soon.
It's a fun Pam pit. No. We are excited to announce that we are going to have a Humanist Lifetime Achievement event coming up September 15th to honor Hal and Doreen Saperstein.
Yes.
The reason that we're sitting in this room and have this building is because of them, among lots of other things, but this is the most tangible one. So we wanted to let you know that this event is coming up and that we will be putting the details together to let you know more about the event, how you can be involved, and hopefully come and help us celebrate Hal and Doreen and everything they've done for us and for humanism in general. September the 15th is the date, but we'll be getting you more details about that.
It's going to be a massive bash for both Hal and Doreen for their lifetime contributions to all the secular organizations here in the Valley, but Humanist Society of Greater Phoenix is going to take special time and dedicate that night for them. This is the first ever we're doing the Humanist Society of Greater Phoenix Lifetime Achievement Award, and this is going to be our first night. So hope to see you there, and it's going to be massive. It's going to be like black tie, super duper awesome. I'll have to actually go rent a tux. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's okay. Anyway, one more announcement, and then I'm going to do the future meeting announcements. Nido, if you can drop on in.
I don't have your pictures. Chris can call it up.
No, don't do nothing. Okay.
Friends, Arizonans, humanists, lend me your auditory organs. I'm here to announce the launching of the Quintana White Institute for Sound Science and its inaugural study, sensual cognition of mood music moods. Now, was anybody here involved in the astronaut program? Right. Was anybody here one of the subjects in the Masters and Johnson study? Okay. You happy few have an opportunity for a similar out of this world experience. Now, how many of you don't know what the Masters and Johnson study was? Look it up. At any rate, this study will take place in this very location. We have carefully chosen this very location. And it will be on August 14th. That's the date? August 10th, I'm sorry. August 10th at 7 p.m., Friday, August 10th, right here. And you happy few have an opportunity to be in on this exciting research opportunity. Now, you are probably asking yourself, what do I have to pay for this experience? And as Bruce had, there are 3 requisites. Number 1, you got to show up. Yeah, you don't need to sing. Number 2, bring something to share. It can be something to nibble on or something more medicinal. But bring something to share. And finally, those of you who thought that you had left deities behind when you joined the Humanist Society, you saw here Bruce make an allusion to our deity. And we ask you to bring an offering for this deity to this event. Now, you may think, we don't believe in that kind of stuff. Well, I can assure you that if you don't make the proper offering to this deity, electrons will cease to flow through our wiring. Cool, moist water will cease to flow through our pipes, and we will no longer have cool breezes fanning our fannies. So, do your part to help us support those activities. But don't forget, this unique study takes place here, Friday, August 10th at 7 p.m. Be here. You won't be sorry.
Thanks, Nido. I'm running a little bit behind, so I'm just going to blast through a couple of meeting announcements here. Sunday, Smart Recovery is Monday, every Monday, so come on by, 7 o'clock tomorrow night, right here. It's an addiction support group. The Philosophy Under the Influence group is next Sunday at 5 p.m. Alex will be out of town, so Richard will be leading the discussion on utilitarianism. So if you don't find any use for that, then come on by and learn while you're around. Anyway, we've already touched on the Flying Spaghetti Monster dinner, and then after the next Sunday speaker meeting, we'll be having the rehearsals, so do please stop by there. The book club for this month is on Dollarocracy, and it's going to be next Saturday, July 28th, or Saturday after that, sorry. Bruce and Anne-Marie, they're coming back in November, and they're throwing a series of parties. You're welcome to attend. On the 10th, they're going to be showing up for game night, so if you're a game night regular or you're not a game night regular, stop on by. They're going to throw a big game night party that day. It's going to be a lot of fun, or that night rather. So it's going to be on November 10th, and it's going to be at 6:30 p.m., but they're going to be a little late. So get the party started without them, and then they'll show up, and then it'll really start. Tuesday, November 13th, they're going to have a potluck dinner here at the center, so bring something you like. Thursday, November 15th, that same week, they're going to be having lunch at the Commodore Guadalajara. And if you want more information on that, we're going to be posting on Meetup, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We already covered the party. Next Sunday speaker, our very own Jim Richardson. I did see him on the party. Yes, there he is. He's going to be coming to talk to us about John Rawls. He was an American moral and political philosopher in the liberal tradition. Jim Richardson will examine his theory of justice and fairness presented in A Theory of Justice, written in 1971, and A Political Liberalism, the 1996 edition, and we'll consider why the United States has moved in the contrary direction the last 40 years. So, you all know Jim. He gives some of the best talks on American history anywhere. So, it's going to be an amazing talk. So do come by. That's going to be our next Sunday speaker meeting on the 29th, breakfast at 9, 10 o'clock is the meeting. I'd like to invite Pam to come up and introduce our speaker of the day.
Okay, I don't talk that fast, so we'll work at it.
Once going twice, sold.
Well, I'm excited about our speaker and our topic today, and I love the fact that so many of you have a lot of emotions around this. I've had a lot of input of fear from the guys, some women not wanting to show up, and so anyway, I'm really happy to see all of you here. So I met Rick and Michelle at an event in San Diego and instantly just loved them. They're wonderful people, and I'm so happy and honored that Rick is able to come and Michelle with him to present to you today. So let me share with you a little bit about Rick. Rick Broniec is a writer, educator, speaker, and workshop facilitator, specializing in transformational work and men's work. Rick taught chemistry and international baccalaureate chemistry in an urban public high school for 35 years. Can't be possible. And is recognized as a master teacher through entry in the Southeastern Wisconsin's Educators Hall of Fame. Rick has been honored with a number of educational awards, including the Presidential Award for Excellence in 1987 from President Ronald Reagan. Rick has many articles published in several educational and professional journals. In addition, Rick has worked in the human potential personal growth field for more than 30 years as an author, speaker, workshop leader, and leader trainer. Rick has helped many thousands of men and women transform their lives from an old way to a new way of being through his work. He is certified as a full leader and leader trainer for the Mankind Project, a nonprofit helping men live fulfilled lives of service since 1992, leading well over 180 trainings for the Mankind Project. His first published book was in 2011, A Passionate Life, 7 Steps for Reclaiming Your Passion, Purpose, and Joy, and his second book, an Amazon #1 bestseller, The 7 Generations Story, an incentive to heal yourself, your family, and the planet, in 2015. And he also, you're going to talk about your book. Rick speaks on many topics, but is most passionate about men's work and intergenerational healing. So I'm very excited to have Rick come and speak to us about what's going on with our men. Please help me welcome Rick Broniec.
Everything in life I have to be turned on first. See, I might need some help from my people on the system. Push that button one time. Okay. Wow. Thank you so much, Pam, and thank you, Humanist Society of Greater Phoenix, for inviting me. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
I want to also acknowledge and invite and welcome the live stream audience. It's really great having you here today. I'll tell you, it's a tough act to follow all those great announcements about all the activities you're doing, especially the cookie challenge. How do you follow that? I don't know. I'll have to tell you, I'm not a member of the Humanist Society yet, but I've read your mission statement and looked at your website, and I got to tell you, I really appreciate the work you're doing in the world. It's fabulous stuff. So I am doubly delighted to be here with you today. And if I scared you with this title, good. Good. And if I stimulated you to come, even better. Just what the hell is going on with men? Well, I'm going to answer that question with some statistics today. By the way, if you want a copy of this program, just email me. I'll be happy to send it to you. It has all my references in there. There's also tons of references in my handout. If you didn't get a handout, that's because you're sitting at the back of the room. There are some up here, and Michelle has a few extras she'll pass out. Teaching chemistry for 35 years in a public high school. That's as godless an activity as you can possibly do. Let me tell you. And I always had trouble having students in the front, so feel free if you wish to. Some of you in the back, move up here if you'd like. There's handouts here. And if not, that's fine too. So, what I'm going to do today is talk about my impressions of working with men all over the planet. As Pam mentioned in her introduction, I've worked with thousands and thousands of men and women, mostly men, in 11 countries, 5 continents. I had the privilege of working with very, very, very many men from many different cultures. And there's a lot of similarities in the way we are raised, the way we're acculturated, and some of the issues that we face as men, and some of the issues that you women face by being in relationship with men, or if your mother is raising boys. And then I want to talk and focus more on what are the solutions, what are some things we can do as right-thinking, good-thinking, clear, caring adults, human beings, what can we do to change what is clearly going on in our society, in our country and around the world. I'd like to start with this. The future of men is a new and elevated stature, gained through personal growth, greater balance of work and personal lives, positive role models, and newly defined perceptions of masculinity. That's where I'm hoping we'll end today. Okay? We're not there yet, unfortunately. So just what the hell is going on with men? In my opinion, we men are in crisis. Now I'm saying that not to blame. There's no blame involved in here at all. Just to point out what's going on. If you're not paying attention, if you're not aware that men are in crisis, you're really not paying attention. The Me Too movement, of course, has highlighted dozens of high-profile cases and many thousands of others of harassment, sexual abuse of women. It's been in the news on a daily basis. Nod your heads if you agree, if you understand that. Yeah. And it isn't that this stuff is new, right? It's been going on for a long, long time. It's that we're finally paying attention. And mostly because these courageous women have had the opportunity to stand up and say, no more, never again. Or, me too. I'm the father of 3 daughters and the grandfather of 3 granddaughters. So it motivates me to do this work with men. Because I want the world to be different, and I know you do too. What else can we say? There's been 154 mass shootings in the U.S. in the first half of 2018. That's almost one a day. Think about that. We get numb to the news that there's been another mass shooting. 173 people dead, 663 injured. All but one of these shootings in 2018 were perpetrated by men. From teenagers on up to older. All but one. That's not an accident. By the way, the FBI defines, I don't know if you know this, I didn't know this until I started researching this. A mass killing is the killing of 3 or more people in a public place, not including the shooter. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. All right. And there were 346 mass shootings in 2017. Again, almost one a day. Almost one a day. What else? More statistics. There's about 35,000 men a year commit suicide in the United States. It's the 8th leading cause of death among men. And we commit suicide 3.5 times more often than women. Again, it's not an accident. There's reasons for this, I believe. And here's a really stunning statistic. 7 in 10 suicides in the U.S. are committed by white males in the year 2016. Last time we have data on that. Looking through this audience, most of the males in here are, I could probably identify as white European heritage. We're at risk. Perhaps stunningly so. And in addition, divorced men are 10 times more likely to suicide than divorced women. Again, we're at risk. Another reason why I'm so passionate about this work, about working with men, working with my people. Even more, I promise you we're going to get the happier things after we get through these statistics. Those of you that just ate breakfast, take a deep breath. 76% of homicides in the U.S. are committed by males. 91% of the prisoners in United States prisons are males. 94% of industrial deaths occur to males. This is pretty obvious. It's only been recently that women have been allowed in combat roles, but 99% of the deaths in the whole history of the United States, it's actually 99.86%, if you want to be really precise, are males. And don't think that these statistics don't weigh on us men, especially those that were born Vietnam era or earlier, where the draft was in, where we were subjected to being in the military, whether we liked it or not. Many of us were. 99.3% of state executions since 1976, when it became legal to do that again, were men. There's only been 11 women executed in the United States since 1976. Now take a breath into that. Wow is right. It's amazing. We're in crisis. And yet you don't hear much about it. It doesn't lead the headlines. Now, what is it about men that so skews these statistics? I'm going to get you involved today. If you don't have a workbook, it's okay. You can come up and get one, or Michelle will happily pass them out. I know there's some pens over there if you don't have a pen. Or if you just want to do it as a thought exercise. Take a couple minutes, if you will, and list 1, 2, or 3 reasons why. What does being a man mean to you? And what I'm talking about here is, what do we men carry that we've been taught about being manly, being a man, being a male, that might be responsible? Pam was kind enough to do 60 of these. I'm so glad that we're running out of handouts.
It was an arbitrary number.
And if you'd like one, there's also lots of resources in there. Again, just email me and I'll be happy to send you the file. So what does being a man mean to you? And think in terms of both the things that might cause some of these statistics and also the things that are great about being a man. Because there's lots of great stuff too. I'll get to that too, I promise you. So take a moment, if you will, and then turn to a partner, preferably someone of a different gender, and share what you believe or what you wrote down for these 3 questions, or these 3 comments, okay? For those of you who did the cardinal mistake of reading ahead of the handout,
We should have the final Jeopardy music.
Yeah.
then we're going to. All right, who needs more time? Who needs more time? Raise your hand if you need another moment. All right. What's that? Oh, that's okay. Pam says I should never take a break and let humanists start talking to each other. Big mistake. So I'd like to have a couple of you share what you came up with. What's that? We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
There you go.
So-
Wait.
Yeah, please, thank you, Pam. This is great. And when the person shares whatever they say, just raise your hand if you have a sense that rings true for you too. Man or woman, it doesn't matter. Let's hear it.
Listen up.
Being expendable.
Thank you. What's your name, sir? Brian.
Brian.
Thank you, Brian, very much. Thank you. Who can relate to that? Being expendable is some of the messages we carry as men. A few of you. Go ahead.
Being a man is pretending I'm someone I'm not.
Anybody relate to that? Oh, come on. We're very evolved in this room, I can tell. Thank you so much. What is your name, sir?
Chet.
Chet, thank you. Please say your name.
Okay, this is a woman's view.
Please.
My first reaction, being a man means being an asshole.
Thank you. And many of us can relate to that, yes.
Integrity.
Say that again. Hold on.
Integrity.
Thank you. Please remember to share your name just so I can get to know you a little bit.
Michael.
Michael, thank you. And okay,
Carol, exploitation.
thank you. We'll take two more.
I learned this at an early age, the prerogative of standing to pee.
Yes, we are biologically different.
Did you
One
say
more.
two? Okay, one more.
I'm Paul. I stopped trying to figure out what a man is a long time ago, so I'm just trying to be a good human being.
Okay, thank you.
Because I don't know what a man really is anymore.
All right.
That's humanism.
Okay.
All right.
I know there's lots more.
Absolutely. So thank you for that. I believe we all have common messages, male or female. We know what being a man means. We know what being a woman means in our society, what we're expected to be, the way we are acculturated. And a lot of it is very subtle.
Yes.
We carry it deep inside. Jung called it the shadow, the parts of ourselves we hide, repress, and deny. And it impacts our behaviors, the way we treat each other, the way we raise our children, the way we run our organizations. Okay? So, whoops. There's a slide missing here. Okay. It's out of order. Sorry about that. I'm going backwards. That's why. There we go. Sometimes men are backwards. So what is it about men that so skews these statistics that I shared with you earlier? Let's share your discoveries. So we already did that. Men have feelings. You feel hungry. Right. Especially for donuts, if you don't. All right. Okay. So here's my distillation from talking with many, many, many men in very deep, intimate conversations over a course of 30 years. We men tend to be disconnected from our feelings and emotions. We really don't know what we're feeling, except for one feeling that men are allowed. What's that?
Anger.
Anger, exactly. So everything comes out as anger. When we are angry, of course, we should express anger. When we're sad, we express anger. When we're afraid, we express anger. Even when we're joyful, we express anger. Just watch professional athletes when they do something good. What do? They smack each other, grab each other, bump chests. It's interesting. Just as an aside, what's the one emotion women are allowed by society?
Crying, sad, crying.
Mostly sadness and crying, yeah, fear. So again, their emotions often come out as that. When I'm happy, I cry. When I'm afraid, I cry, and so forth. Just an aside. All of us are affected by the way we're acculturated, in my opinion. All right. We're isolated from other men and women. From a very early age, we men are taught not to cooperate and play with other men, but to do what with them? Compete. There's always a winner. And that means there's always a loser. The day we were born, even before. In fact, evidence shows, am I?
You're fine.
Okay.
We just want to get
Sorry about
Framing.
that. Evidence shows that we even speak to our boy babies and our girl babies in utero completely differently, based on the way we're acculturated. It's stunning. We're conditioned to be competitive rather than cooperative. We mentioned that already. We're conditioned to be homophobic. Starts very early. You got little boys that hug other little boys or picked on. Little boys that like other boys are picked on. It doesn't matter if they're gay or not. We get the message early on and very strongly. Don't do that. We're conditioned to be tough. How many of you men in the audience heard the phrase, "You're not hurt, tough it out"? Something to that effect. Besides me? Yeah. Not too long ago, I was riding horses in not too far from here, near the Grand Canyon, with my then wife and my young daughters. And there was a father and son ahead of us in the line of horses. And the son's horse reached back and bit him on the ankle so bad that it took a piece of skin about that big right out of his ankle. He was bleeding badly and, of course, crying. The father got so upset with his son, they got off the horse, of course, and he said, "Stop that. Be a man. There's nothing wrong with you." I literally had to bite my lip to keep from intervening in any way. And then he struck his son. "I'll give you something to cry about." Now, I've seen that same scene, and I bet you have too. Something similar to that many times. I've experienced it as a son myself. We are taught early on, be tough. This is how you make it in the world. So you don't acknowledge pain, and you use violence to solve problems. Now, I want to point out here, I'm talking in broad generality. I totally own that, I recognize that. I'm not talking about an individual man. Some of us were raised differently. Some of us had parents who were in the Humanist Society. Perhaps. Or had other benefits like that. But the vast majority of us do not. How does this conditioning occur? Well, again, this isn't a secret. We know this stuff. We just don't talk about it very much. We males are inundated with ubiquitous messages from birth. And as I said before, even before birth. So again, males are tough and strong, they feel no pain. We're never allowed to be vulnerable. And yet women's number one complaint, a man is invulnerable. He's not emotionally available. He won't share when he's got a problem. He won't share when he's feeling sad. He won't share when he needs help. Anybody relate to any of those messages on either side? Okay. I do too. We men are stoic. Again, we feel nothing. At least that's what we're taught. It's to the point where we don't even know when we're feeling something. If a horse takes a chunk out of my ankle and my dad tells me, that's not painful, you're okay. Stop crying, there's nothing wrong with you. I soon begin to doubt my own sense of feeling. Literally, I doubt my senses. Then I begin to doubt other parts of my reality. And men, as a result, in general, have little resiliency. When we get knocked down, it's harder for us to get up, particularly when we're isolated, particularly when we're not in touch with our vulnerability, our need for help, our need to connect. Is this making sense? Is this ringing true to any of you? Okay. Good men go it alone. The hero complex. If you don't believe that, look at our movies, our media, our television shows, over and over again, we get inundated with messages, images of the hero, which is almost always male, until very recently, overcoming all odds to save the world, save the family, save whatever. Okay? These are powerful messages. Okay. And men compete with other men for everything. Jobs, attention, money, success, women, sex, etc. We're not cooperative in general. Okay. And work is the most important thing men do. Many of us have gotten that message from our fathers, our grandfathers, back in generations, right? Hard work is how we express our love. When I was about 18, I said to my father, we were alone, which was very rare because there were 6 of us kids. Dad, do you love me? That was a pretty vulnerable question to ask my father at that time. And he looked at me with this consternation on his face, like he was completely shocked by the question. And he said, of course I do, Rick. Don't you know how hard I work to support you and your siblings? He was working 3 jobs at the time, by the way. So the message is, we love through work. In general, again, in general terms. I know what men want. Men want to be really, really close to someone who will leave them alone. Elaine Booth. It's so true, isn't it? And here's the thing I want to point out to you, if you haven't noticed, I am a man. I'm not immune to any of these cultural messages, any of the societal pressures. I had to fight my way out of them like many of you are. And I've done that in a lot of different ways. And now I speak and I write on the topic. Maybe as a beacon to some other men who wish to make those changes. Okay. Now, I promised you to talk about what's great about being a man. Obviously, there's some wonderful things. We men have innate strength. Now, I'm not just talking about physical strength. We have the capacity to withstand hardship and pain to protect others. I'll give you the source of these, by the way, in a moment. Men have a great capacity to express loyalty, dedication, and commitment. One of you men back there said integrity was one of your qualities of men. Absolutely true. Ability to solve problems, think logically, and rely on himself. Michelle says to me, my partner says to me, it's really hot, Rick, when you figure out how to fix something at my house. And I was taught early on, that's what men do. Capacity to take risks, stay calm in the face of those risks, in the face of danger, and assert himself. Now, sometimes that goes to damaging extremes, but we have that capacity. Okay? And we express love by doing things for others. That's kind of an analog of I express love through work. We express love often by doing things for others. Now that's not all bad. A lot of great stuff gets done in the world because men love by doing. Okay? The source of these is Dr. Ron Levant, whose quote was at the beginning of the talk, A New Psychology of Men. All right. What are some other great things about men? Just call them out.
All of those.
All of those, okay. Persistence, good. Okay.
Confidence.
Confidence. Thank you.
Compassion.
Compassion. Absolutely. So I want to make it clear here, again, that I'm not picking on men, and I'm not blaming men. And I'm not blaming women. This isn't a blame game at all. It's clearly something's not working here. What can we change? All right. Why does it take 100 million sperm to fertilize one egg? Because not one will stop and ask for directions. That's so funny because we all know that. Because asking for directions means I don't have the answer. I have to rely on someone else. You know? All right. Conclusions. This is the conclusion of this first part. Our model of masculinity is not working in general terms. The costs of the old model are simply too high. I personally am not okay with 35,000 of my brothers committing suicide every year. I'm personally not okay with my brothers perpetrating acts of violence on women, and acts of violence on schools, and acts of violence on other men and women in mass shootings. Almost one a day. That's not okay. And I don't believe the solution is necessarily in taking away weapons, although I certainly would support some logical legislation about that. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I believe the solution is in how we acculturate our men, how they're raised, the messages they're given, the purposes we believe we play in society. Is this resonating at all?
Yeah.
Well, keep nodding your head, say yes. There can be some indication you're alive. Thank you. All right. So, clearly our old model of masculinity is not working. Then what can we replace it with? And that's what I want to share with you today. It's my main message. This is also the message of my third book, which hasn't been published yet. I have a co-author, we're working on it. We just finished it actually this week. Yeah. And it's called Evolving Masculinity, a guide to help men thrive. At least that's the temporary subtitle. You might help me with some market research a little later. I'm going to ask you what might be a better subtitle, because I trust the logical minds of you humanists. All right. So what can we replace this old model with? Well, you can never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete.
Yeah.
Of Mr. Fuller. So what I'm hoping to do is suggest to my readers and my listeners, a new model, a new way to raise boys into men that are more resilient, that are more connected, that are more respectful of our institutions, women and children. That's what I'm about. So I'm going to suggest to you some things. Some of these may be, you go, oh yeah, that's a no-brainer. And some of these may leave you kicking and screaming. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. We developed the classics model of healthy masculinity. My co-author, Larry Szymczak, we just both happen to be Polish American men, were born in Chicago. Hey. Yeah. And we ended up in San Diego in the same men's circle, the same men's group. It's actually now an all-gender group. The book Evolving Masculinity, Guide to Help Men Thrive, due out early next year. If you know any publishers or if any of you are agents, please speak to me afterwards, okay? All right. The model consists of 8 dimensions that lead men to what we believe is healthy masculinity. These 8 dimensions form the acronym classics. What are they? I can hear you saying, what are they? What are those 8 dimensions?
Rick, what are they?
Thank you, Pam. Plants. Number 1, connect with our emotions and relationships. We can't do anything else, in my opinion, until we begin to feel and really experience all of our emotions. Access them, be able to use them, have comfort with them, have some facility with them. To understand there's something that men can express besides anger. That we can be tender, we can be gentle, we can be loving, and so forth. We can cry. Yes. That's the first C. You with me so far?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. We believe that we can teach men and help men to learn to love beyond an open heart. What does that mean? Buy the book. No, seriously. The word love is so overused and misunderstood. I'm talking about tapping into that deep capacity that men have to deeply care about the world, to deeply care about their partners, their children, their offspring, and the planet. And empowering them to move into that love in a big way. That it's okay for men to love and open themselves up and be vulnerable about that love. Raise your hand if you want that to happen in the world. All right. Oops, sorry. Authentically relate with accountability. That's the A. There's 2 words for A. Being authentic. One of you said in the description of the old model of masculinity, which is what we described earlier, is I have to pretend. We men spend a lot of our time pretending. I'm okay. Everything's cool. I just lost my job. I'm drinking, way too much, but I'm okay. I can handle it. All right? And accountable. When we make mistakes, men, it's okay to say, I made a mistake. Maybe I didn't intend to hurt you. I want to be accountable for that. I want to acknowledge the pain that I've caused. Or whatever it was. The disconnection that I caused. And I want people in my life that hold me accountable. That's so important to me. Michelle is one person who does that. She's vociferous and persistent, and I love it. Calling me on my ship. And I have a whole circle of men that I'm very close to who will do that also. Constantly. I've been in a men's group that meets every week nonstop for 30 years.
Wow.
30 years. So I've discovered a lot of shadows about myself. A lot of these messages that I'm sharing with you, as I said before, I'm not immune to them. They continue to raise their ugly heads. And I have different tools now for dealing with them. Okay? Authentically relate with accountability. What does the S stand for? Spiritually connect within and with others. And what I mean by spirituality, I want to make it very clear before you start jumping up and down and screaming, has nothing to do with religion. Nothing. It has to do with connecting with something inside yourself or in nature or something that energizes you. Okay? When we get to the Q&A, you may have some questions about that. That's perfectly fine. I believe that's important for men. Because to me, being right here, right now, today is a spiritual experience. Okay, communing with you, connecting with you, feeling you right now, allowing you to feel me. That's spiritual to me. Okay? All right, what's the next one? There's more. Sexually awaken your masculinity. We spend so much time as men either repressing our sexuality because we're scared of it or we're scared of what it might cause, or acting out in ways that are hurtful to ourselves and the ones we love. I believe there's a balanced sexual expression that we men can find. It starts by talking to other men about sex in a real way.
Yeah.
Not how many conquests you had. Thank you for that laughter. I appreciate that. About our fears, about our inadequacies. And on it goes. We men carry enormous amounts of stuff around our sexuality. And you women know that, and sometimes you pay the price. Sometimes other men pay the price. It's time to start having some real conversations with open-hearted men who can say, yes, I feel that too. I've had that experience. I have that same feeling of inadequacy. And by doing that, we awaken our own sexual energy, which is a very powerful creative force. And we make it accessible to our partners, our lovers. And we can use that energy in lots of different ways to be creative. Okay? You with me?
Yeah.
You getting excited yet?
Yeah.
I am. What else? There's more. Intentionally create your mission of service. One of the qualities we said about men is they love to serve. Give me a mission, give me something to focus on, and I feel like I am on fire. Anybody else feel that way? Because I care. If I know what I'm doing. I think that's why things like sports teams, men's organizations, the military, fraternities, why they're so attractive, because it gives us a focus, a mission. Give me something to do and a reason to do it, and I'm there. Okay? I believe each one of you men, and frankly, each one of you women, has deep within you a mission of service. I don't know what it is, only you do. If you haven't accessed it yet, if you haven't made it a central part of your life, you're missing the opportunity to energize that masculine energy, to put it to work. It feels pretty good. Some of you have a mission to be here in the Humanist Society. Beautiful. Some of you have a mission to lead and be part of the camp. What is it called? Camp Quest. Thank you. Fantastic. Give into those kids. Find out what it is. If you're not sure, sit with a circle of men. It'll come up. It'll bubble forward. I promise you. And then here's the next piece that's so important. Commune with circles of men. Women know how to make circles and share with each other. Book clubs, reading clubs, you name it. I mean, workshops.
On the phone.
On the phone. They know how to get support from their peers. And men are not very good at that generally. It's time, beyond time, for us to start sitting in circles of just men. In fact, if you don't have a men's circle here in the Humanist Society, maybe it's time to start one. What are men's unique issues? Yes, we're all humans. Do we have one? Is there one?
You want to lead it?
I'd love to, but you can't afford me.
You're a nonprofit.
Seriously, sitting in a circle with other men has been life-changing for me. To find out I'm not the only one that feels this way, that's been raised this way, that carries these messages in my head. All right. And then finally, the last S is sovereignly lead. Find out what your inner king has to say. Start paying attention. And when you get in touch with your king, that allows you to get in touch with your lover, your magician, and your warrior. To put them all to work in service to that king. What is the king in service to? Your mission. Okay, so that's the classics model. And how can we get this right from the beginning? How can we change it? Well, certainly working with men, which I do a lot of, from ages 18 to age 80, in many different countries and many different languages. I only speak one, barely. That's important work, helping the men who have been acculturated in ways that are less than healthy begin to pull out of themselves what being a man really means, what's really important to them, and then supporting them to begin to activate that. But going back even further, it's important that we help the boys. In my opinion, we're failing our sons. And men are failing our sons, and moms, you women are failing your sons too in some ways. Because subtly, we're giving them the messages, the same messages that we talked about earlier. Creating the next generation of stunted men, of stoic men, frankly, of damaged men. It doesn't have to be that way. We can change this. We can change this by raising boys using the classics model or something similar. When I do readings of my book in mixed audiences, guess who's the first to run forward and say, oh my God, I gotta get a copy of that book? It's not the men, it's the women. And they're saying it for their husbands, their partners, their lovers, their sons mostly. I don't know how to raise a healthy boy. Well, I don't either. And I know it's not working. And I believe that we can come up with a way to do it that is more effective. All right. We're supposed to be finishing in the next few minutes, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Aaron Kipnis is a friend of mine and wrote Knights Without Armor. In America today, there appears to be an attitude that boys do not need or deserve the same degree of nurturance, safety, intimacy, love, and support to which girls are entitled. Which harkens back to that old model that I was talking about. So, we're going to have to do this pretty quickly. Please go to your handouts if you have them, and this is exercise 2. What can we do to address this problem, to raise healthier boys? So we're running short on time. I'm going to give you 2 minutes and share it with your neighbor, if you would. Because I'm curious what you think.
Are you going to have them share again some of their answers?
Oh, sure. You started.
Solution ideas? I'm going to be your partner.
All right, my friends. I wish we had more time. Perhaps we can carry this conversation on at lunch. I promise you I'll be there. But I am curious what you came up with. Just share a couple, if you would, please. Oh, Pam, can you get the mic over there?
Or just, yeah.
Well, I want everybody to hear it.
And we'll get it done.
Because this is important.
Okay, my name is Athena Roberts. I think one of the things that we could do is when a horse bites a chunk out of a kid, and then the father is giving him a ration of shit about crying, that we friggin' say something and stop it from happening.
Okay, thank you. Up here.
Having it step here for.
All right.
Ron Russell, and I'm going to go with mindfulness and meditation.
Beautiful. Thank you. One of my favorite things.
So let them express themselves in ways that they enjoy and will be beneficial to themselves and society, and not putting harsh stereotypes on it.
Thank you. Yes. One more up here, and then we're going to have to move on for now.
Okay.
Let's emphasis on sports for boys.
Say it again?
Sports, which promotes the competitiveness thing.
Right.
I think what we're talking about is how do we raise grown-ups? You know, I'm at the end of the life cycle now. So I've been through all of the phases of adolescence, young adulthood, fatherhood, grandfatherhood, etc. Each one of those is somewhat different. And I think there's some short-circuiting that goes on, that people get stuck in an earlier phase and they never get to being a grown-up.
All right. That's the point. Thank you, James. And you had your hand up first. I want to hear what you have to say, please. Last one.
If from an earlier slide you brought out that the beginnings is getting to know yourself, your emotions, and being able to express that, one way that can fix our system is having it, making an environment that's safe or okay for boys and men to be vulnerable.
Exactly. Exactly. When a little boy says, I heard, say, yes, you heard. Tell me more about it. Not tough it out. Okay, thank you. Again, we know the solution, don't we? It's pretty simple. All right. We shared the results. We start recognizing the models for boys and men is broken. We embrace the classic model or something similar. It gives us a framework to help raise boys that are different. We train parents how to raise healthy, connected, resilient, sacred boys. Sacred in the sense of highly valued, precious, instead of throwaway, as one of our men said earlier. Yeah. And we support parents who do this vociferously. All right. We offer help to those men and fathers who reach out to change the old model messages they still carry. It's not easy work. It's damn hard work to pull up all the messages I carry and other men carry. And take a look at it. Is that fit for me? Is that real or is it not? It takes other men to help with that. All right. 9 things men want to hear. You look handsome. I'm proud of you. That's the number 1 thing, by the way, that men want to hear from. Number 2 thing men want to hear from their fathers. Number 1 is, I love you. Most of us have never heard that. I see your progress. I trust you. Thank you. I want you only. I support you. I appreciate you. You make me happy. This comes out of a survey done at Buckeye Pokes. I believe that's Ohio State University. Okay. Marketing research. Something entirely different. On the feedback form, for those of you that have the handout, the last page is a feedback form. There's a place where you can write more of these if you're willing to do that. If you're not, that's fine. It's just curious because we're really working with the subtitle. A guide to help men thrive, or a manifesto to help men wake up and show up. Most of my talks I begin by saying, my name is Rick Broniec. I help men wake up, grow up, and show up. Or forging an authentic man. So just a really quick poll, just for kicks. How many of you like the first one, a guide to help men thrive? Raise your hand. Oh my goodness, 37 of you. That's fantastic. A manifesto to help men wake up and show up. Okay.
Ed grow
All right. You know why we took that out? Because every man that heard it said, I don't like that part. And then forging an authentic man. How many like that? Not quite as many. Okay. That was actually one of our marketing research people suggested that one to us. All right. And the winner is then a guide to help men thrive.
Positive.
It is positive. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Once we fully implement this new Class 6 model or something similar to it, and I believe humanists can lead the way, then and only then will we see a shift in these statistics, these sad statistics that I started out with, and in our fathers and sons and brothers. We will see changes. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rick. So we have some time for Q&A and any comments. Anyone have anything to ask?
Don't be bashful.
Okay, we'll start up.
How do you factor in single-family households where women are the breadwinners and there's no positive male role model? Also, the fact that the vast majority of elementary and secondary school teachers are women. There seems to be an absence of strong positive male role models in many boys' lives.
Right. That's a great question. Thank you. One way is by men purposely and actively making it their mission to become uncles, to reach out to young boys that don't have a father in the house. I'm going to give you a statistic I didn't use today, but it just came up because of your question. 24 of the 25 worst mass shootings in U.S. history were perpetrated by fatherless men. Think about it. And if that doesn't make you want to cry, then what does? 24 of 25. So this is a vital issue. It's a vital issue. So Big Brothers programs, there's a great program that started in San Diego, it's spread all over the world, called Boys to Men. It helps boys 12 years old to 18 years old with mentors in the schools at a regular basis. There's lots of ways to do it. Scouting programs, other programs like that do it as well. The boys are hungry for that, they need it. And let's find ways to get our fathers back together with the boys. Let's find our ways to teach fathers accountability around being present. Another one.
This is more of a comment. On one of the earlier slides, you mentioned that, or it was on there, 7 out of 10 suicides are white people.
White males.
White males. Okay, well, I was looking up, it's a tragic statistic, but on the other hand, 75% of the country, people in this country are white. So the fact that it's like, I don't know if it really matters. I mean, it's sad. It's just that
they're white, but they're not white males.
I would expect that would fit with what I would expect, considering the percentage of people. But
thank you.
Anyway,
I hear your comment. And 75% of the United States is not white males.
About 62%.
It's about 52%. And thank you. I hear what you're saying. You're absolutely right. We are still the majority in much of the U.S. In my city and in your city, if we're not already, we will soon be a minority, meaning people of European descent.
So I have a comment and a question.
Yes.
The comment is around the consideration for your book title, Evolving Masculinity, Rethinking Classic Masculinity.
Thank you. That's great.
That kind of plays in your, into your wheelhouse. And I think the question comes kind of in line with that comment of how do you address really taking ownership of privilege, dominance, and getting away from that as being an acceptable way to relate to other people as well as feel good about oneself?
Well, brother, you just asked a huge question. And what isn't in my bio is that I do a lot of multicultural training around the world. So I have a lot of energy about this topic, and it's such a large one that I hesitate to open that can right now. I will say this, it's on us majority people in the United States to become aware of our privilege and notice it, to pay attention to the impact of it. Because we're all part of that system. And it's got to change.
I have a card. I'll make sure you get my card and we can email about it.
Excellent. I'd love to come back and do that topic if you'd like to.
Yes, I once read that for some reason the brains of men and women are wired differently.
Mm-hmm.
We think differently, we see differently. I sometimes believe that my husband and I are living on 2 different planets.
Mars and Venus, maybe? I don't know. What, is that a comment or do you have a question around that?
Is it true?
Is it true?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of research on brain development that shows that very early on in the field of development, when testosterone begins to take effect, it diverges in the way we develop. So yes, there are brain differences. How much of that is nature and how much of that is nurture? That's the question. I'm asking us to impact the nurture part of the equation by changing the way we support our men and our boys. Back here.
I know that you've touched on this in this somewhat, but not specifically. It takes, our science tells us, about 3 generations to make significant change in society. I feel that we should be teaching good parenting skills in school while children are still not reproducing. And if we can implement some of these things that you have been talking about, I think that would be a good place to start. If we could do that worldwide, it would be a good idea.
Thank you very much, and I certainly agree with that. As a person who was in the educational system for a long time, I can tell you there's an enormous amount of resistance to adding more to the curriculum, especially around these topics. Yeah, so it's politically active to do that kind of stuff. Yes, please.
I have a couple questions that I've already answered, but I just want to bring them up to you. First of all, I think the classic model applies completely to women as well.
I agree.
You know, and a comment on that is I think every straight man should have a close female confidant. Because you're talking a lot about what we can do raising boys, but what about the men today? You know, I feel an obligation to reach out to them, especially now that I've heard all of the reasons that have made them to be the way they are. Okay, so a comment is, several people said one of the qualities of men is to be confident. If that's the case, why do men have to have so much reassurance? Do you think it's because they were never told they were loved or felt that they were loved?
Again, it's a big question. And my top of mind answer is because we act confident, but we're really not confident.
Yeah.
And that's part of that acting, to put on the persona of everything's cool. And we don't really know, and so we need constant reassurance.
Right.
And that means
so,
from women. Yeah.
And one more question. Why do you think so many men hurt women?
Again, a very good question. Because men are taught that that's the proper role of men. There's very subtle messages that percolate through our society. The whole idea of the sexism and misogyny and so forth comes from cultural acculturation of both men and women. We don't know that it's not okay, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Do you think it's also because the mothers didn't stand up for the boys who were being berated by their fathers?
I think it's because the mothers didn't stand up for themselves when they're being berated. That's what I think.
Yeah.
So men see women who, for whatever reason, acquiesce to that, and they think, oh, that's what being a man is then. And it could be supporting the boys as well. Thank you for your question.
This is just a quick, I read when the woman asked about is it a difference, nurture, and nature. Several years ago, I read in a scientific journal that, two X's make a female, X and Y make a male.
Right.
So each X chromosome has 2,500 to 5,000 possible genetic combinations on it, whereas each Y has 15. So I used to do this little poem that when you wonder, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, what's the difference? So I would say it's called It's All in the Genes, and if you'll bear with me for 1 minute, it's all in the genes, or so I've been told, whether a man strays or is yours to have and to hold. There's genes that fit tight and make a girl swoon. Those genes on the plum are always good for a moon. There's genes that are creased and genes that have bibs. Does wearing these jeans mean you won't tell a fib? There's jeans that are bleached and blondes that go with them. There's jeans that are baggy, belong in the kitchen. There's jeans that are creased and jeans that have holes. Those Italian jeans with those worn crotches, is that the way they're sold? There's bell-bottom blues, not only for some, but the hip-hop look comes most easily undone. There's cowboy jeans with rhinestone studs, or lace along the seams, or covered with crud. They come in many colors and not just in blue. There's black jeans for tough guys and tough women too. There's jeans that caress the butt of Mick Jagger. That rock and roll pirate, it's no wonder he swaggers. So it's all in the genes and there's no need to moan, though there's only 15 on that Y chromosome. The X has 3,000 and probably more, but what the heck, guys, we're not keeping score. It's those external genes that capture the eye, and though I know some women like a suit and a tie, we could meet in the middle and let's compromise. I'm really sympathetic to that look in your eyes, though my genetic responses by yours can't be matched. Those genes fit so nicely, you're still quite a catch.
I think we need a humanist open mic night is what I think. All right.
So Rick, how do you address an adult male who did not get any of those positive messages that you listed up there that a father should give his son, but this adult male's father is already deceased, and so he can't go back and address those issues with his father?
That's a great question. One of the things that men's circles do for other men is we father each other, and we grandfather each other. So even though I may never hear that message from my biological father, I can hear it from Richard, or I can hear it from Paul, or I can hear it from other men. And sometimes it can be transformative to hear that I'm lovable, that I'm valuable, that my life matters. Those are the kind of messages that men long to hear and often don't. So that's what we can do for each other if our fathers are no longer here, or if we never had one to start with. Okay, we have time for maybe one or two more. Yes, please.
This is actually a comment and maybe a partial request as well. I've been through the Mankind Project. So all of this, of course, rings true and so forth. And I attribute much of my emotional and growth as a man because of the work I've done and sitting into I groups. The request I have is because of how things are set up, which I can elaborate on, I wonder if it can be tweaked in any way to be a little more secular, because it's a non-religious group,
Right.
but there is aspects of spirituality, some that I'm still a bit struggling with. Do I put up with it or not, or so forth, and then even staffing, volunteering staffing at times as well. So is it possible, however, I don't know who up the chain of MKP or whatever can have this flow down so that it's more neutral in that aspect? And I think that more people of a secular mindset would probably be more willing even to join as well.
I personally have addressed this a number of times with the organization. And we say we're a non-religious organization. We welcome all religions and no religions. But men tend to have a spiritual belief that they want to express. Now, the spiritual belief might be non-belief, and that's perfectly fine. And it can rub some men differently. I'm not sure that the Mankind Project is the place. It might be. We have really worked to make our weekends more inclusive. And you know that. We've worked to make to have what we call gateway weekends, which are special weekends for men, for example, for gay and bisexual men, for Latino men, for black men, because they might not come to a weekend that is staffed primarily by men that look like me. I would be very, very supportive and stand up for a humanist Mankind Project weekend.
It's a good idea. Okay, back here in the middle.
And we can talk more about that. Let's exchange info, okay?
This is not a question, but a comment. I wish, when you started off, you said your brochures were picked up mostly by women. Being a woman, and maybe I misunderstood.
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Being a woman and raising boys and girls, I was all ready that, all toys belong to all kids and nothing's off limits. But what about the husband? I could not change him. I think in your book you need to include methods women can use to help men in their change. Not that women don't need to change, but you need a section to guide us and help our men develop into maturity.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Okay, we're going to just have one more question. I'm sorry I can't get to everybody, but hopefully come and speak to Rick afterward too with some of your comments.
My wife and I have lived in separate countries for the past 8 years. She's in Mexico, I'm here. We see each other, 3 or 4 times a year. She's building a business down there. When I go and visit her, people ask me, well, how could you let your wife do this without you? And my answer to her is, I don't own her. I think as the traditional male role is that we are grown and raised, especially this country, basically it's a religious country. We're raised that we're the head of the household, that our wife is our property, and we have to get over that. And also women buy into that same thing. They expect men to be that traditional man that they've been raised also the same way. So how can we get around that?
Well, again, you're asking fabulous questions, and this is one that would take another session to talk about, Paul. It takes men to be doing this kind of work to get to the point where you're at, where you recognize not only do I not own my partner, male or female, but if I truly love that person, I want what's best for them. That's whole. It makes them whole. And if that means working in a different country, or that means whatever it means, I can support that. And that is a tough sell for a lot of men. Remember we talked about the old model, competitive. Once I've got mine, that's mine, you can't have it. That's got to change. with our kids, with our property, and with our loved ones, in my opinion. But that's way up high on the evolving spiral, in my opinion. Okay? Does that help? I mean, yeah, there's no easy answers.
Thank you. I know there was a lot more questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but first let's thank Rick. What a great talk. So, Rick, we have a tradition here at Humanist Society to mug our speakers. So, your first official Humanist mug, and I hope that we can build a collection and have you back again.
I'd love to come back.
Thank you very much, and please come up and talk to Rick about your comments, and he has his books available for sale up here, so come on up and talk to Rick, and thank you again.
You're welcome.
Oh, and don't forget lunch with Rick and Michelle, too.
Yeah. Oh, let me say this. Michelle's a sex coach, so you might have some questions for her, too.
And before you go, if you could, please help clean up. Grab the tablecloths and put the stuff in the back. Pencils, clean up garbage. It was a pleasure having you today. Hope you had a great time. You'll come back, come on, talk to our speakers. We do stream on YouTube every time live on YouTube. If you'd like to check us out, thank you to the YouTube audience. Have a great day. See you next time.